Hi, welcome to this another episode of Realitysceptic podcast. This is going to be a different one. This is going to be an experiment in solo podcasting, and I thought that I had a topic that is going to be maybe interesting for some. Maybe there's somebody will find value in this, and what I wanted to talk about is what I think are the biggest problems and obstacles for people seeking truth at arriving at a certain place, stable place. There are many things that are gonna be thrown your way if you start seeking answers and if you want to discover the truth about this world and what it is, what it isn't. And I made a short list of things, so let's see how it goes. This is the first solo podcast that I'm doing, and maybe it's going to be less, maybe not, who knows. So what I see in people when I see in myself is that it's very easy to get distracted, and it's very easy to fall off, so to speak, from your path of finding more and more truths about this world and seeking truth in all aspects of life. And there's many things that can go wrong in that, and one of them things that's it's not the most important thing, but that's the first thing on my list here, is that people get hooked on stories, right? We all love stories. People love listening to people tell stories about themselves and about life and about history. There's a reason why there are so many historical books and channels over, even if they are alternative, so-called, right? Who will tell you a different story about ancient Egypt and pyramids and stuff like that. And I think those books sell very well, and those channels are obviously watched by many people. And people like just stories. They like hearing about history, how life was in some kind of other period of time, whether there was a great cataclysm, whether this story about ancient technology and that story about Atlantis or whatever, right? People just love stories. It doesn't mean there isn't zero truth in some of that. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened, and it doesn't take much honesty to admit that we have been fooled when it comes to humanity's history. And it's easy to fall for all kinds of alternative stories about ancient times and alternative timelines and ancient aliens manipulating humans in the past, but now they're gone and whatever. Those are very, very nice stories. It's very it touches somewhere inside you, that you people get hooked on this very easily. And if you fall for this kind of a mentality that you like the sound of a certain story, or this sounds nice and it has a twist, and it's different than the mainstream science and mainstream media, but you don't really know, but it sounds good, like maybe that's not the truth, or maybe it's some people just like stories. Maybe people who are not really have the desire to seek further answers or go deeper inside of themselves. They like stories about other people and about other times and other places in the world, but it's easy to get hooked on it. It's easy to be, even using a strong word, it's easy to get addicted, from all those kinds of fairy tales about what happened or what happens somewhere in a different place, in a different time. And as I discussed on this podcast a few times, the whole ancient history may be a total lie, total fabrication. So if you like just like stories and like fairy tales, and if you are claiming to be a truth seeker, that you might want to rethink your relationship with storytelling. Okay, so let's move to another point on my little list. If you fall in love with stories, you might also or the other obstacle might be falling in love with content creators themselves, right? People are different. Obviously there are some charismatic individuals in this called alternative scene, and it's easy to like somebody more, somebody less. Some people have a greater following because of their own personality. But if you are serious about seeking truth and discovering answers and finding answers, well, if you fell in love too much with some content creators, that might be a blockage. Because if you like somebody too much and you think he's great and charismatic, and if he starts telling bullshit, you have to have some decency and some of that critical, analytical thing in you that won't say, okay, I like listening to this, but this guy, he's maybe not fully honest, or maybe he's misleading himself, or maybe he's misleading other people, maybe he doesn't even know that. But most people don't have that critical sense, and I think it would be good for people if they at least think about other people who they follow, right? It's not about just being a sheep and following other people, because obviously if some people in this world obviously have a greater personality and character traits that might make you feel good listening to them, but that doesn't mean they are truth seekers, that doesn't mean they are honest, that doesn't mean they are the real deal, right? And I'm not saying that people are doing it on purpose. Some people obviously might do it on purpose. But you have to try to seek in yourself that sense about how you can just blindly follow someone, and you have to be, if you are really honestly seeking truth, you have to be aware of that. So that leads us to another point. Let's go to number 3. It's people have a problem with not being honest and sincere with themselves. I think when I speak about honesty and sincerity, I think people are that the society and the culture we live in just destroys this kind of honesty and sincerity. Everything is just kind of a beat around the bush way, and everything is euphemistic, and people are snowflakey, and you just don't hear people just being upfront, and it doesn't mean that you have to be totally honest with other people. I mean, that's obviously might be good if people were more honest, but that probably won't happen in the future. But if you are a seeker of truth, you have to be honest at least and sincere with yourself, with your own life, with your own being. Like you cannot just make excuses for yourself. If you let's say discover truth about drinking too much alcohol is bad for your mind and body, and it's and it has a deeper issue regarding your mind, right? Let's say, and you discovered all those truths, and then you say, okay, and you stop drinking, but a month later you start drinking, and it's like, yeah, but I just had a bad day, like, and you start making excuses, like that's. And I'm not saying that everybody should quit alcohol on the spot. I'm not saying that, obviously, but I'm saying that you have to be honest. At least if you're gonna say to yourself that you are never going to do something again, and then you do it again, at least it would be it might be beneficial for you in your own journey in seeking answers, to at least look at that and admit that you're not maybe honest and sincere with yourself, and admit that maybe you have been fooled. Sometimes people, obviously we all have been fooled. Everybody who is listening to this podcast had a period, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter periods, when they have been fooled by someone or something, or some belief system. And if you're not able to even admit that, well, then you're not a real truth seeker, okay? So let's move to another point. Let's call it number 4, not understanding your own mind. And what I mean by that is connected to the previous one. If you don't know that you have this, subconscious kind of things going on, and if you don't understand that you are not a logical creature, that humans are not logical creatures, they are emotional beings driven by desires, right? If you don't understand that, that might be a big problem sooner or later in your life and in your truth-seeking kind of a path. So that is a great problem that people don't. That is one of the most important things, actually, that people don't go there. They don't dissect their own thoughts. They don't ask themselves where those thoughts are coming from. They don't seek falsehood in their own mind, right? It's easy to seek falsehood in fake media stunts. It's easy to seek nonsense in other, political events and stuff like that. But if you don't seek nonsense in your own head, you don't think that maybe the voice inside of your own head is not the real you. If you're not trying to understand that, then maybe you won't arrive at a certain peaceful, free place when you discover truth. And because I really think if you are a real genuine truth seeker, that sooner or later you have to go inside, the sooner the better, to seek truth about your own being and your own mental space, and clear that mental space, and then you might be better off. So that is another big obstacle, one of the biggest, and people just don't go there. It's easy to focus on fake media events, but people are very frightened and scared. They get paralyzed with some kind of anxiety and fear when they start looking inside of themselves, and they might discover that the whole mental structure is fake itself. So so you might want to see and look at that. Okay, let's move to another, let's say, place on this list, number 5. All right. People have this tendency to fall for all kinds of dualistic ways of thinking, right? If something is not black, it's white, or if something is not white, it's black. But the world is more than just black and white. It's more than just a few colors. It's more shades of gray and more different colors, and with all different kinds of tones and varieties. And if something is, if the media is lying, that doesn't mean that the first alternative, easiest to grasp theory is going to be true. Obviously, I don't think I have to explain that to many people listening to this podcast, but still, people get caught up in all kinds of different dualities. Like if somebody doesn't believe predictive programming is done by humans alone, right, then somebody will jump to the other side of the river and will say, oh, do you believe in God doing things, or this is AI? Like, no, it can be a combination of things. It can be some kind of a mental energy flow between humans. It might be a conscious relationship with this whole realm. There are different explanations than one dualistic way. Or if you don't believe it's human, you believe in God, some kind of a God speaking through people. Like there might be creator or creative force of this universe. That's not what I'm talking about. But I'm not saying that everything happens because of one or the other, right? I'm not saying that if you don't believe in spinning globe bottle, that because you don't believe and you see lies, that NASA lies to you and all other space agencies lie to you blatantly, that doesn't mean Earth is flat, okay? And by the way, Earth is not flat, okay? That I have a news for you, okay? It's not, but that's what I'm saying. It's easy to fall for dualities, right? If it's not spinning globe, it's flat, maybe it's some kind of a different thing, or maybe we live in a complete simmed reality and can appear different to other people depending on whatever programmer or architect, in quotes, of this reality presents itself as, right? Or displays as. So there's all kinds of 100,000 possibilities what this place is, how it came about. But if you believe, one duality, one side of the duality, outside the spinning globe is flat Earth, then you might be missing on discovering certain truths about this place that might be important. Like, for example, when I see this kind of debates about flat Earth and spinning globers, like I see, people who are, misled and misleading other people versus other people who are misled and misleading other people. It's like BS versus BS. That's what I'm seeing. It's this false duality kind of a stuff. And what my approach to tackling this like 5 or 6 years ago, this flat earth kind of thing. I wanted to get to the root cause of what we are seeing and how we are seeing, like what is light, what is magnetism, and what are the meaning, what is the fundamental force of nature that's driving this place. That's electromagnetism in short, right? And if you try to understand nature, so-called nature, from that standpoint, you might, have an easier time trying to figure out all those fake narratives, right? But if you just automatically fall into one side, the blue team versus red team kind of a stuff, then you're not really seeking truth, you're just stuck in mud, and that's all I'm saying. The reason why I say that flat earth is bullshit and spinning globe model is bullshit, because there are fundamental issues with both models. One is completely, false, because, the scientism kind of a model of this expanding space and this dark energy, dark matter, and this Einsteinian space and time continuum and this quantum mechanics stuff, it's all fairy tales for adults. There's no truth there. There's all bullshit and just mathematical models. So there is no truth in separate force called gravity, right? But the same goes with flat earth. There is no truth in flat earth, because there are things observable in nature that are completely destroy flat earth, completely like shatter the whole mindset. The different star rotations in southern part of the world, and then northern, right, different, sun going over the hump clearly when it's sunset now, and then changing its color due to the change of a vertical angle, which shows there is some kind of a different relationship between sun getting higher and lower, and there's some kind of a prism-like effect going on, which you can take a light and take a kind of a glass prism in those kind of different shapes, and see that there's gonna be different viewing from different angles, different colors, which shows there is something in the so-called in this world that makes the sun appear that way. And obviously it might all be just simulation and completely fake, right? But that's what I'm saying, that there's all kinds of reasons, and magnetism itself has always two poles, right? Magnetism is the driving force of volume and mass in this universe. That's what I discovered. That is absolutely true to me. And if you cut a magnet, you have a big magnet and you cut it in half, it's gonna still have two poles, a north pole and a south pole. If you cut that in half, you're gonna have still north pole and a south pole, right? If you cut magnets in million pieces, they are going to be having this kind of a north magnetic and south magnetic pole always, and it's always going to be a toroidal field, right? So if toroidal fields are not flat, then which are they are not, and everything is driven by electromagnetism, and magnetism being the outer, the expanding, let's call it the spatial force. Then the spatial, I mean the what makes things have so-called space and dimensions, right? If it's all magnetism, and the opposite dielectricity, right? If that's all true, which is observable in nature, if somebody watches a thunderstorm, he can see a dielectrical breakdown of the atmosphere. So that means electromagnetism is real. And if you don't tackle this, for example, topic from that angle, from the root fundamental of the whole issue, then you might stuck in one of the dualities, or some kind of an other stupid alternative about what this place is. I think the just falling for those false dualities is like looking at a building, observing one window on some second floor, right, and the guy points to that window and says it should be this way, and it should be this shape or that shape, and the other guy points on the other window, no, this window is not this shape because it's broken, it should be other shape. And meanwhile the whole building is fundaments of the building are just built on sifting sands, and like the building is gonna collapse, and somebody built the building the wrong way. And flat earthers and spinning globe earthers debate whether the glass on the third floor of the window is clean or not, right? It's a complete bullshit, and a stupid analogy is also, my stupid analogy is probably also a metaphor or whatever. It's probably also bullshit. So you don't have to listen and believe other people. Just try to attack every subject from its root, not from some kind of a dualistic theoretical standpoint. Okay, let's move to another. I have already spent too much on this, which leads us to another point, which is, I don't know, number 6 or whatever, falling for groups and group mentalities. Obviously, that's connected with the previously what I said. There are, I think, all those major theories, right? Like flat Earth and, the whole ancient, aliens and, alternative archaeology and others kind of theories about, aliens and stuff like that. It's pretty much controlled by alphabet agencies and some kind of a government operatives, right? And in most cases, and there are plenty of channels and places and Discord servers and forums where people just feel comfortable being there. They don't like to go up. Most people don't like to be against the group, against the grain. They don't like to attack the whole group. They don't like to, not even attack, just oppose sometimes, right? It's uncomfortable mentally, and it's easy to fall into a group mentality. But even in this place of the internet, when people talk about fakery, right? Fake media events or fake history, it's easy also to be part of a Discord server when you discuss things and you feel comfortable in there, and sometimes might be very difficult when your ideas are completely against the whole group, right? And some people, and in a group setting, there's always some kind of other subconscious things going on which people don't recognize, right? Some people might want the tendency to be an alpha male and a leader, right? And he will try to impose something on others. And other people maybe don't like it, but they are too shy and they don't know how to oppose that, but they don't want to leave the group. And then you have people who are, just kind of have this destructible habits, and they are the addicts of various substances, but they want to, be there and share everything they can and put themselves up front. And like, there's whole host of destructive behaviors associated with groups, smaller groups, bigger groups, or you name it, right? This whole group mentality is a trap. It's a very issue, and humans beings fall for it all the time, every single way possible in this world. I think the deepest truth and finding meaning in life, if there is a meaning and purpose in life, maybe that's a better question, not what is it, what if it is. It's a very individual kind of a internal, mostly, a journey, and it's a very reflective. You see something outside the world, you try to alchemize it inside of you and go deeper. Then it's a kind of a process that is hard to explain in very logical manner. But if you are just stuck in a group, and because the group leader says so, and you don't have it in you to question that, and you're just stuck in weeds, right? And you're just being a happy group member who doesn't go anywhere, doesn't achieve anything, doesn't arrive anywhere. And even groups in this so-called corner of the internet are becoming that. Even the small Discord servers are sometimes becoming like micro cults, mini cults, where people just they like being on a journey together, right? That can be a trap in itself. The whole mentality, a human being is a universe in itself, right? Even alone, if you are alone human, your structure is just like how complex as the universe so-called itself, right? You have your own self to figure out, right? And if you want to stuck in groups, and sometimes it can be even a distraction or addictive, right? Discord servers can be addictive even to people, right? Spending time on Discord servers because of the dopamine release. Being part of the group makes you feel better if somebody compliments you, right? That is a trap. To me, it's obvious. It might not be obvious to you. I don't know if I'm explaining myself properly. I'm not the best speaker in the world. I will never be. But I am at least very aware of not falling for a cult-like group mentality. Even the smallest groups have that danger to them, so be aware. And another point is false hope in people in mass awakening. That's just another, to me, obstacle hope is just another kind of a drug, sort of, being addicted to hope and thinking that there is a mass awakening around the corner. I don't think there is. Maybe this place isn't designed to be a kind of a place where somehow people at one point will break free of their chains and programming, right? Maybe this place isn't that place, so at least that has to be asked. But if you believe in people and mass awakening, and that suddenly things will someday will get better, you know, that's fine if you believe that. But what I want to tell you is that it can be an obstacle for you personally to dive deeper into yourself and seeking truth, right? Because if you're gonna wait for somebody or convince other people, if you think they are waking up and I have to help them, you know, you have wasting your time from the standpoint of being it's just empty ego of a helper. That's all I'm trying to say. If you think that it's your responsibility to wake other people, and there is the mass awakening around the corner, like there is no other thing that you have to go out there and convince people, right? Like, that just might be a false ego of a helper, just empty ego, right? Another empty ego stuff. You know, if people are gonna wake up, it's gonna take something from the internals of the people to wake up. It's not gonna be your messaging, right? People are not logical creatures. They are emotional beings driven by desire and mostly pleasure seeking, okay? You're not gonna, by logic and information, wake people. It's not going to happen ever, because people are not logical creatures. That is a fact of this reality. Trying to treat people like information will cure all humanity, like we need just good information and good content and good knowledge and better books and stuff like that. That's not going to wake up anybody. And if you wanna, because people are just not like that. And if you wanna call me a pessimist, well, whole pessimism and optimism is a falsehood to begin with, because if, let's say, I go outside and I see there is a storm coming from the west, right? And that storm is coming and it's inevitable. It's a supercell, right? It's a storm supercell. There is a, squall line. There is all kinds of signatures showing that there's going to be a strong wind, rain, hail, or maybe even a tornado, right? You don't need to be an optimist or pessimist to point out to people, like, hey, listen, there is a storm coming and it's going to rain heavy and it's going to be wind, right? It's not like pessimism or optimism, because you can say, oh, that's pessimistic because look over the east. There is a clear sky in the east. So what the fuck are you talking about? Some storm coming from the west? But that's false optimism, right? And all optimism and pessimism is just falsehood anyway. It's a false mental state. If I see a storm coming from the west and I see it coming directly to my place, I'm not gonna wait for some optimist guy to tell me that, yeah, but there is a clear sky in the east and maybe someday it's gonna be on the west, right? Like, yeah, okay, I see a storm, I see it coming, I see it's going to rain. There's no pessimism in that. There's just facts. It's just truth, okay? So if you're going to tell me, oh, but just look, there is few people who are more cautious about vaccines. Okay, fine. Yeah, that's very nice, but that doesn't mean there is a mass awakening that just 1% of humanity more is just asking more questions about vaccines. Okay, that's just one topic of 100 topics. I don't believe in mass awakenings. It's not a mass thing. It's not a group thing. It's an individual kind of alchemical thing in every single human by himself, okay? So, the next point on this list, number 8 or something, let me look. Okay, this is very important topic also, because overestimating knowledge and intellect, okay? So, having said all that, I said that human beings are not logical creatures, because they are not. That's a fact. And some people overestimate information, overestimate facts, they overestimate knowledge, they overestimate this kind of intellect and intelligence. I think there is a deeper issue. There is a kind of I don't want to say it's spiritual issue, and I will get back to that. There is a kind of a internal life energy that flows through people, and that's more fundamental than your facts and your mental structures, right? So focusing only on the one aspect of life, the so-called materialistic or intellectual, or pointing out numbers and dates to people, it's not the be all end all, and it's not the obviously, and it's not, if you can get stuck in there being proud of your own knowledge, you just, you're not going inside, you're not feeling you're not trusting your intuition, you're not asking questions about what is this life and what is this thing I'm feeling, the feelings and the everything, the emotions. And you just focus on raw information that's, you're not gonna help anybody, you're not gonna help yourself. So I think focusing too much on just raw knowledge is not avenue to having a stable, peaceful kind of a truthful existence. Just overestimating your mind and intellect, okay? And the last point, quite the contrary to this, overestimating spirituality and religion. If you jump to the opposite side again, and you just all spiritual on, meditation or everything, all life, is just meditating your life away, right? And you're gonna wake up one day and gonna focus on this meditation or that, opening your chakras or whatever. That also is a trap. All religions are a trap. The whole belief there is a guru or a holy book that you will just, listen to a guru or read the holy book and you are gonna be saved. That is a big trap. That is many people get stuck there. This kind of mode of being that gives a false sense of security and a false, obviously, sense of ascension, right? All those spiritual modalities are not also the way to go. Not what I mean by that. Obviously, there is something in a human that is not conceivable by mind, that is not explainable by numbers and models and mathematical structures. There is something, life energy, there is some kind of intelligence, natural intelligence, or whatever you want to call it, soul, spirit. I don't like those words. But that's not gonna be approached from this external practice kind of a way. If you're practicing and you think, I'm gonna practice something to achieve something, that's like going externally again, trying to go external to say you are going inside. Like that's like a strange loop. And if you trust it's some holy book, then you just some kind of a book that somebody written, and even if it has some truths in it, that doesn't mean that it's going to save your life, okay? So if you overestimate that part of your life, and if you think you can meditate yourself into enlightenment, then you're actually wrong. Like there's plenty of people who meditate all over the place, all day, all week, and they are not like walking enlightened people among this earth, just radiating some kind of a love energy. Right? That doesn't happen, okay? There are millions of people who maybe even billions who meditate, right? And so what? Okay? That doesn't mean this world is getting better, okay? So, overestimating religions and spiritualities and all those movements and gurus, again, it's your own journey, and how you arrive there is your own path. You have to forge your own path, not trust some other path and some other guy or some other book and some other theory or some other fairy tale, right? If you are sincerely desireful of truth, you're gonna forge your own path to it, okay? Not getting stuck in some kind of a practice or modality or some kind of a BS false story about opening your third eye, and as if your life source is in some gland in your head, and you're gonna just see everything because you practiced opening your third eye. I mean, that might be a trap in itself, okay? The whole astral realm might be a fake realm. You wanna be a part of the fake fourth dimension reality, and you want to open yourself to it, okay, that's fine. I mean, if you want to do it, and people will do it, and if that's actually true, that there is some kind of a parasitic force lurking in the fourth dimension, let's call it, whatever, this invisible part of this existence, that there is some kind of a demiurgic archontic force, which there probably is something distorted going on which people don't see and perceive normally, then you want to open yourself to it just for have a blissful experience. Okay, go for it. Okay, but I'm telling you from my experience, even if you feel good for some time, you're gonna get sucked from your energy, gonna get sucked, and you're gonna open yourself to some kind of a distorted kind of a field. The whole thing about waking up totally to everything is finding the most natural thing in you and ridding yourself of all the false beliefs and false energies around you, right? And the God energy, this supposedly creator of this universe, if you're worshipping some creature and giving your energy to it, that's not truth, that's not natural, that's not peace, that's not even if you receive some kind of a blissful state because of it, that's just like cosmic candy, right? It's cosmic addiction, right? It doesn't mean that there is no creator or there is no creative force in the universe, but give yourself externally to something is untruth. Okay, I hope I explained myself. Maybe I will someday do a podcast, or maybe not, to explain myself better. Maybe this is all I have for anybody. Maybe this podcast will be, one of many, or maybe the last one. I don't know. It depends how I feel. If there is flow, if I intuitively feel, because I trust my intuition more than my mind, obviously, if I intuitively will feel that I have to maybe talk about something or record something, if I feel the creative sense inside of me, that this flow, that maybe something will happen, maybe not. But if anyway you like this and you want to support me, maybe you can. There is going to be a link in the description notes, and I might put this list somewhere in the show notes also. If you like it, obviously you can make a comment or send me an email. I'm not planning anything. I don't know how it turns out. Obviously I want to say thank you for everybody who has been listening to this podcast and who has listened to this podcast and me rambling for, I don't know, half an hour or more maybe. So thanks for listening, and we'll see how it goes. Like I said, the intuitive part of you is the closest things to the truth it is, right? So not the mental ideas about being someone. So if I feel inside of me that I need to record something and share something with people, I might do it. I was trying to be as honest as I could. I sometimes fall for those mental traps myself. This is my own journey, and everybody has his own journey, her own journey. So good luck on your true journey and discovering the truth of life. And this was my sharing. Thank you for listening, and bye.